Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the debate of English Literature Study Program. The motion for today is this House believes that Western states should take a high number of refugees even when faced with domestic popular opposition. On the affirmative side of the House, there are Ms. Sintia Ayu as the first speaker, Mr. Naufal Zaki Cundoko as the second speaker, and on the negative side of the House, we have Ms. Rifqiyati Azizah as the first speaker and Ms. Rifta Anastasya as the second speaker. To begin with debate, I'd like to call upon the first speaker of the affirmative side of the House, Ms. Sintia Ayu. The time is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sintia Ayu Ningsih as the first speaker of the affirmative side of this House. And this House believes that Western states should take a high number of refugees even when faced with domestic popular opposition. The emergence of various problems in a country such as wars between countries, civil wars, natural disaster, poverty, and we can take a look the example of in our society. For example, the civil war in Syria from 2011 was followed by an earthquake in February 2023. Also, Russia's war with Ukraine that occurred recently. These incidents killed a lot of people, and they injured. They even feel threatened and scared. A lot of infrastructure was destroyed. They have no place to live. From here, they will move to another country to avoid the conflicts of their country. In this country, they become refugees. While usually they will move to the another safer countries such as European countries, United States countries, Australian countries, and so on. And the country that they are going to, they called as the host country. While domestic population refers to people of the host country. So our team agree with this policy because it will save the lives of many people that are affected by the country's problems that have made millions of people become victims. And by receiving them in high number in Western states, which safer than their own country. Yes, please.
Whether police and rescue efforts can only be demonstrated by accepting many refugees, is there no other way?
I think it doesn't matter with the number of refugees because as the host country, they must accept whatever their number is. Each country has its own policy in accepting refugees, even though if they limit the number of refugees. I'd like to continue by receiving them in high number in Western states, which safer than their own country. It will automatically be easier for them to survive, and as a result, many human lives will be saved, and they will avoid the risk of death in their country. According to United Nations High Commission for Refugees, Turkey is the host country that received around 3.8 million refugees, followed by Germany with total 1.3 million refugees. This means that this country have saved million lives of people, and basically they have the right to live and survive, so that other countries, especially Western countries that are already developed and have a safe environment such as Western states are obligated to provide places to live for them. And they have been granted by refugee protection. They become the responsibility of the host country to quarantine, and they have the risks are written in the Refugee Convention and Human Rights Treaties. These rights including staying in the host country and not being returned to the country origin, education, healthcare, housing, employment, and family, among other issues. So So in conclusion, as I was mentioned before, our team totally agree that Western states should take a high number of refugees because it will save the lives of many people. This is reinforced by the fact of some countries that have taken a high number of refugees and several rights for refugees in host country that I have mentioned. Thank you.
Ms. Sintia Ayu spent 4 minutes 20 seconds. Now, I'd like to call upon the first speaker of the negative side of the House, Ms. Rifqiyati Azizah. The time is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rifqiyati Azizah. So, the first speaker of the affirmative team has tried to tell you about save the life of many people. This is wrong because we should also expect their positive effect to be accompanied by negative externalities and distributional effect that will negatively affect the most vulnerable groups among the host. In the short term, areas that suddenly become home to refugees may experience resource strain and environmental degradation, which can derail local development. In urban areas, the influx of refugees may lead to water and electricity shortages, and the host community overcrowding of services such as health and education, increased traffic and pollution, and competition for jobs and housing. These factors can result in employment, a surge in inflation. So my argument is large refugee comes may seriously harm the ecosystem and that will harm the host's most vulnerable population. This because refugees frequently ruin parks, natural reserve, and world heritage sites by using and polluting water.
POI.
Yes, please.
Why is it hard to move refugees from the urban to rural area by government?
Okay, I think rural areas often have limited infrastructure compared to urban areas. Basic amenities such as housing, healthcare facilities, school, and transportation system may be insufficient to support a large influx of refugees. The government will need to invest significant resources to develop and improve infrastructure in rural areas to accommodate the needs of the refugee population. So, okay.
Thank you.
I will continue. Using up wood source for fire and hunting animal sustenance. As a result, host nations are less inclined to take in further refugees. Areas that unexpectedly take in migrants may endure resource stress and environmental damage in the short term, which might halt local growth. Urban regions may have water and energy sources. As a result of the refugee inflow, raising expensive for both the refugees and the host society. Other like health and education, a rise in traffic and pollution, and rivalry for employment and housing. Their elements may lead to increased social and economic inequality, employment, a spike in inflation and stress. After a year of police upheaval, tremendous stress for families and communities, legal battles that are now before the Supreme Court and cuts the funding for refugee saving organizations, the refugee resettlement system is better. The future of the refugee resettlement program is uncertain despite its long history and the success and contributions of refugees in the U.S. So in the conclusion, the opposite team of their debate believe that Western states should take its refugees frequently ruin parks, natural reserves, and world heritage sites by using and polluting water, using animals for sustenance. As a result, host nations are less inclined to take further refugees. Thank you.
Ms. Rifqiyati Azizah spent 4 minutes 5 seconds. Now, I'd like to go on the second speaker of the affirmative side of the House, Mr. Naufal Zaki Cundoko, and the time is yours.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Naufal Zaki Cundoko. And now, as the second speaker of the affirmative side of the House, I would like to refute the previous speaker of the negative side of the House. You know, ladies and gentlemen, it might be true that the large number of refugees will lead to the environmental crisis. It is unfair because if we blame the refugees for any negative environmental consequences, the impact of the large refugee camp on the ecosystem host population can vary depending on numerous factors, such as the context, location, and management of the camp. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, it is more appropriate to explore strategies and solutions to minimize the negative impact of the refugees camp instead of blaming them for no reason. So the previous speakers is not fully right. Then I believe that accepting a high number of refugees can bring economic benefit to the Western states. Why? It is because, ladies and gentlemen, if the refugees provided with the proper support and opportunities, they can become active contributors to the economy of the host nation. Many refugees have various valuable skills, talents, and experiences that can give the positive impact to the labor market of the host nation. By integrating refugees to the workplace, ladies and gentlemen, Western can gain diverse talents and expertise. It leads to innovation or a job creation. So there's a lot of refugees that has a lot of talents, experience, and they will join the host nation. The host nation will use it to create a new job for both the refugees or the citizens. And the refugees often display a high level of entrepreneurial spirit. They are motivated to establish business in order to carry their life because they have no other choice to live. They must work, they must find job for living, make money to help their family to live. They might bring new ideas, culture, and trade connection that can stimulate economic growth both for the refugees and the citizens of the growth of the host nation. Also, ladies and gentlemen, when refugees settle in Western states, it becomes consumer and contribute to the local demands. They need housing, foods, clothing.
POI.
Yes, please.
How do language barriers, discrimination, education, and other factors influence access to employment opportunities upon arrival and over time?
Thank you. To address these challenges that you mentioned before and improve access to employment for refugees, comprehensive integration programs are necessary. These programs should cover language and vocational training, anti-discrimination measures, educational program, social support, and mental health services. Collaboration between the government, employers, educational institutions, and organizations is crucial in facilitating successful refugees integration. Let me continue my point that the refugees also need housing, food, clothing, healthcare, education, and so on, which can stimulate economic activity and create opportunity for the businesses. So it means that a lot of people that occupy an area, they also need more food, clothing that they must buy it, so it will run the economic wheel of the area or nation. So I would like to prove the statement that study conducted by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development found that refugees who arrived in the early 1990s have made substantial positive economic contribution to the Europe, affecting the increase of the GDP and the higher employment rates. Similarly, the report by the Facial Policy Institute in the United States showed that the refugees have a high entrepreneurial spirit, starting business and contributing to the local economies. So, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, we are firmly believe that the Western states have a moral obligation to provide refugees to those victims of war, persecution, and humanitarian crisis. Upholding human rights and demonstrating compassion are fundamental values that should guide our action, regardless of public opinion. By extending a helping hand to refugees, we not only fulfill our moral responsibility but also contribute to almost just a peaceful world. So the affirmative side of the House strongly asserts that Western states should take the high number of refugees even when faced with domestic popular opinion. Thank you.
Mr. Naufal Zaki Cundoko spent 5 minutes and 10 seconds. Now, I'd like to call the second speaker of the negative side of the House, Ms. Rifta Anastasya. The time is yours.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So, my name is Rifta Anastasya Desti. So, as the second speaker of opposite team, I will rebut the second speaker of affirmative team argument. As Jun stated that refugees can positively impact the labor market and overall economic productivity, they bring new ideas, cultural perspective, and trade connection that can stimulate economic growth and create employment opportunities. The increased demand generated by refugees can have positive ripple effect throughout various sectors of the economy, etc. However, a high number of refugees will lead to competition for jobs and homes, increased traffic and pollution, and overcrowding of services like health and education. These elements might enhance social and economic inequities and contribute to unemployment, aspect in inflation, tension, and other negative effects. In the medium term, the negative distributional effect might become evident. While some locals will benefit economically, others may be forced to leave or lose their job as a result of more competition. The most vulnerable parts of the community, such as women, youth, unskilled workers, those who work in the informal sector, and reside in degraded and marginalized regions, are likely to be impacted negatively by these effects. In addition to environmental problems that my teammates already stated, it can also lead to sanitary and hygienic problems in refugee camps, mostly because of a shortage of clean water and cleaning materials. This makes it simple for disease and illnesses to spread over the entire community. Thousands of people are frequently packed together in overcrowded refugee camps. This creates a risk since it facilitates the spread of disease. One significant drawback of refugees for host countries is an increase in security issues, including crime and protests. Numerous violent. Yes.
Basically, refugees came forced to the host country in a state of fear and anxiety. So, is it possible that they will commit crimes?
So actually, violence exposure might have an impact on refugees' criminal behavior. Recent research has revealed the effect of traumatic event and negative life shocks and on people's risk preferences, time discount, and subsequent behavior. Additionally, research suggests that being around conflict and violence might increase a person's propensity to use violence against others. Okay, I will continue. Their different viewpoint on issues like social behavior and corruption might also cause conflict. They may happen for a variety of causes, including competition for resources like food, water, shelter, and more. Competition between the two groups, however, turned out to be a major cause of conflict. The development of refugee camps had negative impacts on environment, theft, and social issues like prostitution and addiction. A theory of refugee impact based on contextual factors is also presented by Chambers, 1986. He contends that in regions with restricted access to natural resources, the increased competition for these resources after the arrival of refugees is likely to have a negative impact on the host communities. The Malthusian School argues that a growth in population due to a higher number of refugees would overwhelm and drain the nation's natural resource base, overload the social service system structure, and deplete the physical infrastructure available, resulting in economic hardship, poverty, and starvation. In conclusion, the opposite team of this debate believe that Western states should take a lower number of refugees because if they take a higher number, it will cause several issues such as health issues, environmental issues, a rise in the poverty rate, an increase in violence and crime that will affect not only the refugees themselves, but also the host communities. That's all from me. Thank you.
Ms. Rifta Anastasya spent 4 minutes and 10 seconds. This is the end of the debate today. Let's give the time for the adjudicators to make their decisions. Thank you.
Okay.